So here we are again on Ray Powell's property, this time with Ray Powell. Say hi, Ray.
Hi, Ray.
So, out in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico, we decided to go for a walk and have a chat. We've been discussing a lot of things over the course of the time that we've been here, up to and including like some of the different definitions for concepts like freedom. So, what is freedom to Ray Powell?
Here we are. Sort of.
Sort of. Yeah.
You know, it was the idea of being here for sure. You know, I guess you find at some points isolation doesn't feel like freedom.
Right.
At some level. Even though maybe it is the ultimate form. But yeah, I mean, as beautiful it is to be here, and as much as the goal is to be away from it and stake a claim where you can do what you want to do and be what you want to be, there's always a limitation, and at some level, you know, it really is about doing that with other people probably, which
right.
will feel more fulfilling. And that's a transition that I've gone through since the 8 years I've been here, of course.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the transition last time, really, just in you know, like how many changes we went through as activists, you know, knowing each other and, you know, the different attitudes and, you know, things that we've had in the past. You know, what would you say, I mean, you know, now that you've kind of had an opportunity to look at all and come full circle, what would you say is different about you than, say, when you came to this property?
Well, wow. Just a whole different level of maturity for sure. You know, when I came here, it was really about getting away and being left alone, totally. And you know, as time went on, I guess I came around and realized that, you know, community is really what it's about.
Right.
And so in that sense, you know, it went from being an isolated family idea of being on this property to a community idea, really. And, you know, that was a long chain of events that it took to come around to that. Ultimately realizing that, you know, human nature, to come to the belief that human nature is inherently good, I guess, is part of it.
Yeah, that people have those kinds of tendencies, I guess, to be inclined to help one another. I mean, you know, take this fire ant hill.
Right.
That is finally waking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We came here earlier and we thought maybe the fire ants were
gone, and now,
yeah.
Now
took
they're
about 5 bites right there.
Maybe we should move forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they're not too happy about the damage done to their community.
Yeah. Community. Look at them, they're spreading out pretty good too.
They're like, we're gonna find the sons of bitches who did this.
Yeah, they got me about 5 times there when I was talking.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily they're just little guys, so it doesn't hurt too bad.
Yep, but if enough of them team up together,
yeah,
they can kill anything.
Venom could definitely get to you.
For sure. So
little Sarah didn't appreciate it.
No.
On her tongue.
No, absolutely not. Of course, she's still innocent in the ways of the world.
Yep.
So, the sun's finally, you know, not like totally annihilating us here.
It's getting that time of day out in New Mexico. One thing we do have is sun.
Absolutely. Yep. You corrected me in my Yankee self for sitting out in the sun for a few moments, and I've already managed to bake my chest.
Right. Yes. It seems like the attitude where I grew up is that all sun is bad. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Sun is good for you.
Right.
It's just burning yourself is not good for you.
Right, right, absolutely not.
Get plenty of healthy doses of sun so you don't burn. And good shape. That's what I love about it out here. One of the things, New Mexico supposedly I read somewhere has more sun per capita than any place in all of the Americas. So
right.
I love the sun.
So community is now important to you. Achieving freedom in groups rather than just as an individual.
Right. You know, there's a certain humans, I guess part of the realization ultimately is that humans are pack animals.
Right.
We're designed to live in communities at a deep psychological level, I would say. So to deny yourself that is probably to deny yourself a lot of really deep, good, happy feelings, and happy life.
For sure.
Yeah. So, maybe that sounds obvious. It probably does to a lot of people. But for guys like me, from, I hate labels, but the libertarian, individualist background,
Sure.
it was really about I can do anything for myself, and I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that feeling of knowing that and the confidence going with it, but you realize that I'm a human and I'm meant to be with other people and share and be together and work together to accomplish.
Not to mention the strength that groups of people can achieve when they're working together.
Yeah.
And
the good feelings that come from working together, and accomplishing something together is immensely more satisfying than doing it alone, in a sense, So that's what I look forward to. I haven't had enough of it in my life.
Why do you think individualists fear collectivism so much?
Because, yeah, it's a really good question. Because probably of some philosophical belief they have that isn't quite based in reality, I would say. And all sides of the political spectrum do that, of course. They take on a political belief and they intellectualize it to death and don't really think of it in terms of practical living. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I think I showed you that link earlier that Ayn Rand, one of the biggest anti-collectivists ever, in her final years of life had to get a welfare and Medicare to take care of herself.
Right. Oh, man. Well,
it seems that the collective had something good for her after all.
Yeah, how about that? I wonder what her final words were. But
yeah.
Ayn Rand is an interesting character. You could talk about just her and what she meant for hours. But certainly, yeah, in the debates she got into, to ultimately come to a conclusion that I've heard her roughly come to, that helping other people is evil.
Right, right.
What do you have to do to come to that point is an interesting set of exactly what we were talking about, the intellectualization of an idea so far that it just gets totally unrealistic.
Yeah, it becomes an extreme that's, self-defeating in the end. I mean, you imagine, how easy it would be for any small elite group of people to control a group of people that believe that helping each other was evil.
Right.
That's inevitably, that would make it very easy for a minority to control us. That's
one of the many.
Kind of what's already happening. I mean, I was thinking about that when I was on the plane coming over here, that, the first time I went out, people were very unsocial, it was, nobody to talk to really, and and I noticed that just tends to be the trend. People seem to be getting further and further away from each other, and thinking of each other separately rather than as part of the same species. Oh,
no question. Yeah.
That's how you end up with people who don't seem to care that someone else is hurt somewhere else. They kind of tune it out. And then on the way back, or I'm sorry, on the way from Arizona to here to New Mexico, because I had a plane ride there. I met this nice British lady named Mary, and she and I talked a lot, and she's a 2012 person, but she doesn't think it's the end. She thinks it's like the beginning of a spiritual awakening and stuff like that. And just the deep contrast, because like the person to the right of me I was sitting with was just like kind of in the corner doing their best to not even be there, like like they were just like another person just attempting to be as individual as possible, and most of the people on the plane were just like that. There was really nobody talking.
That's the American way,
right? I mean, and I guess I just, especially after being with the Occupy movement and all that, it was so weird to me to be sitting in a plane full of people who aren't talking to each other, like they're adhering to some kind of rigid principle of shut the hell up, like
right. I love Michael Franti at all?
No.
To be surrounded by 1 million other people, feel alone like a tree in the desert.
Yep.
Like
a tree in the desert.
Yes. So I mean, that's where we've come to this, and I'd say a lot of it's the TV. Unfortunately, we get so much of our information about reality from the TV. it doesn't take our interaction or any intellectual effort in communicating with another person, and we're just fed this. Besides the fact that it's mostly lies and misinformation and useless information to spiritual growth, it's also isolating.
And it also seems to, it gives people kind of an illusion of interaction with other human beings.
Right, it satisfies the emotional aspect. If you're watching soap opera or any kind of drama, or any kind of, anything really, not other than some straight scientific intellectual show.
Right.
You're getting the drama of human interaction from afar, and I think that does satisfy some need to inner desire where you would probably leave your house if you didn't have that TV and go out and seek it in communication with others.
Sure.
The TV just shuts that off, and especially for kids, my goodness. I mean, our generation and, half a generation before us maybe or something, really grew up with the TV and grew up with it in the house a lot.
All the time. Yeah. Even if somebody's not watching it at the moment, it's got to be on all the time.
Yeah, it's got to be on. So
it's like it took the place of the campfire.
Right. Yes. And kids, it's just totally, it's like, go out and play, will you?
Right.
They would. The kids love to go out and play.
Yeah.
Every kid loves to go out and play at heart. And so many of them just don't do it because they're watching that TV.
They're just plugged right in.
Yeah.
It was a lady I remember meeting when I was in Ireland, and she's a teacher, and she was talking about how, the kids are just saturated by it. They're just, if they're not watching it at home, then they've got these little handheld things that they're carrying everywhere they go, and they're texting constantly, they're tweeting or whatever, and just always in some video game, or or just not rooted where they should be, not in the world.
Right.
And in some ways, I think that a lot of these tools have helped us. Obviously, the internet, for example, you and I wouldn't even know each other if it wasn't for the internet.
Right.
But I've also seen people that they seem to use it and they forget how to interact in person. They lose their ability to go out and do something like, go to an Occupy camp or attend some kind of rally or whatever. It's like we're now to the point where even our human interaction is now limited to the computer. Right. There's more and more every day.
Yeah. And I'm an interesting example because I'm probably one of the first really hardcore generation. At my age of 38 now, I started in 1980 on that computer, and so I was the first of the whiz kids.
Right.
And there wasn't any before me. And so I grew up heavily invested in that computer, ultimately for economic success and everything. So, yeah, this is it. So one day I wake up at the age of, say, 34 and realize, oh my God, there's something huge missing from my life here.
Right.
And it's taken about that long, 4 or 5 years to really come to feel like I've discovered some answers to that. And so I can't even imagine what, this whole generation now, there's 100 times what I was, in my generation was, 1,000 times.
Right.
That are now all together sharing in their whatever strange function that creates. Now they have ways to share that with others and not feel as isolated. So it'll be interesting to see where that all takes them. I mean, of course, as you mentioned, technology has now come to where it's not fully isolational anymore, It does have some abilities to connect if you use it that way.
Right.
And of course, technology is just an extension of our intentions, which is one thing I like to always, as a technology person, I always like to make that clear.
Sure.
Because some people get paranoid about technology sometimes. If your intention is to connect to people, technology can help you do that. If your intention is to isolate, technology can certainly help you do that.
I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. In one instance, thanks to technology, I can have radio shows where I have, a panel full of people from 5 different Middle Eastern countries to discuss the issues that are going on in Egypt, in a way that I could have never done, before the internet. And then on the other hand, people almost kind of become trained that that's how they interact, and they may not be able to even know what it would be like to try to attend, say, a council meeting or something to try to get something done in their neighborhood.
Right.
Maybe they don't have any idea what's going on in their neighborhood, and neighbors, you know, we've become more and more distant from each other. We don't help each other. You know, there's little next to no community, and I almost feel like that's by design. Like, you know, that there's someone at the top that benefits from us being alienated from each other. You know, that it.
Oh yeah, no question. I mean,
makes it easier to control.
Better consumers.
Yeah. Oh, better consumers, absolutely. Because if I can't trade with my neighbor, you know, to try to come up with something, then I've got to, you know, go to the store and buy absolutely everything.
Right.
You know.
Right. Plus everything you feed them on the TV, you can tell them what products to buy on that TV as well. So.
Right.
If you can satisfy all their desires in there, then you control their minds in a lot of ways. Just an extension of that whole intention on the part of powerful people to create a consumer class. They've been very successful.
Now, you've went through periods in your life where you went through a period where you had a lot of money and you became very material, and now obviously you're living a very low material lifestyle. And when you look back on that, what would you say, like, what piece of enlightenment did you gain from going through that phase of your life, and how does it contrast to where you are now?
Well, that's, I mean, in the acquisition of mass material wealth, I was able to meet and have a blast with a woman who I fell deeply in love with, and we had a lot of fun, you know, in that lifestyle, and every excess was experimented, and so, you know, at the end of that though, it didn't work out, and that left me wondering what the heck. That was the real brick to the side of the head there that said, you're missing something here, because at that time it was very easy to feel like I was a successful American. I had achieved the American dream, right? I had accomplished everything. I had a working career that made me, you know, pretty high on the scale, and I had the freedom every morning for a good period of a few years there to get up and do whatever I wanted, go anywhere in the world I wanted, buy whatever I wanted. And,
right, yeah, you talked about that, just knowing what it was like to just have money just to throw away without even thinking about it.
Yeah, and it was fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's something I wish everybody having the opportunity to experience abundance like that at some point in their life. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it's totally unsatisfying to your soul. Leaves, and if you're not doing the right things, if you're really just indulging in materialism for the sake of it and nothing further, then you're gonna feel left empty when that runs out.
Right.
And it's the same story of every lotto winner, or new money, as
right,
some term people call. Most people that acquire material wealth for the first time are going to be totally not very, you know, just totally careless with it, and
just blown away
and leaving them emptier than they were ahead of time. So yeah, I mean, skip it, guys. Skip it. Just realize truly in your soul. I mean, I had to go through it to come out on the other side. That doesn't mean everybody has to, you know.
It's that whole theory of you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I mean, even people who don't believe in an afterlife, you know, I think that people who get so caught up in materialism often do not really take the time to appreciate the real beauty of life. And
exactly, yeah.
They can get caught up in the acquisition of items and then just like totally lose out on things that maybe should have been more important to them.
Right. And not to say that the acquisition of you know, Federal Reserve notes or whatever material wealth you want to look at is always bad. I mean, if you do have the opportunity to get there and acquire some abundance that way, well, I mean, if you make the right decisions, you can set yourself up with a lifestyle for yourself, your family, and for a community if you want, that you can change the paradigm. Set a new example for lifestyles that can work. You can take a few $100,000 and set up a community that will be self-sufficient from now to the end of time.
Right.
And I guess that's kind of where I'm at nowadays, you know. If I know how to use this system to get wealth, and I can do something good with that wealth for once, like it sometimes bugs me as some kind of oxymoron, you know, or some impossible contradiction.
Right.
But you know, my experience tells me it's possible, and in the end, good thing will come of it, I hope. So
I look forward to seeing how that works out.
yeah.